Hello everybody, this is Carmen with Elemental Designs, and today I wanted to do a voiceover. This is my very first one, so hopefully I get this right. I'm created a card. It's called Vintage Autumn. That's what I call it. And pretty much you're going to see me go through the process. Now, what you see me doing here is pretty much separating different parts of one of the shaped papers that I created by using one of the paper shapers, which is what I like to call them, from eBay. These are some very pretty, very retro kind of artistic looking paper shapers. She features a nice little coat, a fur coat, and it just has a lot of intricate design. So what I have done is I have pretty much passed through two shades. I have a beige, and I also did like a black with some flowers on it. And what you're gonna see me do here now, again, is separate some of the pieces and just kind of overlay them, just to create a different kind of an effect, to make her kind of more of a 3D shape. And that's pretty much what you're going to see me doing for these pieces here. Now, my idea as far as how I wanted this card to look, I wanted it to look kind of vintagey, but not too vintagey, and I also wanted it to have some aspects of like the fall and autumn. So you're also going to see me do some other things as far as create some other elements that are going to go on this card as far as the inside and the outside. Some of the items that I am using here as far as shaping the paper is concerned have been purchased from both eBay as well as AliExpress, which a lot of you guys are very familiar with by now. They have all kinds of awesome deals on both places. Shipping kind of varies between both places, at least for me. I noticed that when I purchase things on eBay, the shipping is a lot quicker. I do receive the items a lot faster than when I do order them from AliExpress, but you know, again, the prices, you just have to kind of check between both places. They both have really great deals. So again, I'm just kind of adding all the different elements on here, you know, just adding the little bits and pieces that I wanted to kind of just add a little bit more dimension, and make her stand out a little bit more. The background that I'm going to be using is kind of bright, and for the most part, I really needed her to have kind of like that dimension, so she really sticks out all the way through and through. Now what I am doing is outlining it so that I can have a solid black background on her. So I've outlined it, and now I'm going to proceed to you know, get that shape pretty much separated from the rest of that paper. And I know you guys might be, some of you might be wondering, like, why am I using these terms, and why am I not calling them for what they really are? Well, right now, there's a lot of things that are changing on YouTube, and unfortunately, it is affecting us crafters as far as our ability to describe certain things. I know I've had already a few, well, I've had a video that was pretty much pulled. So yes, I've had a video that was, you know, kind of tagged, if you will. I'm not sure if it was the system or if it was just somebody that tagged it, but it was just one video that was tagged. And so I'm just waiting on a reply from them. So in the meanwhile, I'm just going to play it safe. So now you're going to see me pretty much pick out the paper that I like. And this is just a random pad that I had there, which only had a few sheets inside of it. So I figured these would be nice colors, you know, for the fall. So now you're going to see me pretty much take some recollection cardstock, and I folded that to create my card base. And now I'm just going to proceed to just get the right measurements and dimensions for what's going to go on top of that card. I do a lot of eyeballing when I do measurements. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I thought that's pretty much how I get most of my things done, is just pretty much playing it by ear. And here I'm just creating what's going to be on the inside. Well, one on the inside and one on the outside. I decided to go with the flower pattern for the outside of the card just because it breaks up a little bit of the contrast. And that's the paper pad that I use right there. And here, what I'm going to be doing now is just getting some other pieces that I'm going to be using. And again, with this paper shaper, I also did the same thing. I ran it through twice so that I can create an inlay, and then you're going to see me I already created the inlay for the inside. Now you're going to see me pretty much do it to the card base that's going to go on the inside of the card, so that I have that kind of transparency there with some of the beige showing from the Recollection cardstock. And again, I'm just separating everything so that I can go ahead and paper piece it all together. And please let me know what you guys think as far as, you know, how this voiceover goes. And if it's something that you guys really want to hear me go through, then you know, I'll try to do my best to do a few more of them, you know, during the process of me making videos. I can't guarantee you guys that I'll do them for all videos, but I'll definitely try to do them for some at least. And I'm just trimming off here all the excess pieces. I'm using the mic that kind of comes right on my laptop, so I hope that it does sound well. I might play some music in the background, I'm not sure yet, so in case you guys do hear a little bit of music in the background, that's probably me trying to either filter out some excess noise or static or something, or you know, something or the other. So here, what I like to use, a makeup applicator, like a makeup brush applicator, because it allows me to kind of get into the little nooks and crannies because it's very flexible. You know, it being a brush is very flexible, so it allows me to get into all the little tight spots, as well as I can kind of, you know, depending on how much pressure I put, I can also kind of vary in the shading, which helps me out a lot with creating shadows on some of the pieces that I create. Other times I will go ahead and use, you know, the blending tool by Tim Holtz, which you'll see me use here as well. The color that I used on this was the Distressed Ink, which is the vintage photo, and then you'll also see me use the Walnut Stain. This lace here that I'm using now is a lace that I purchased at Dollar Tree, which I thought would add a nice little touch to the bottom of her dress, just to create a little bit of interest. I didn't want to overdo her too much because I didn't want too much bulk and dimension inside of the card, so that it closes well. Here you just see me kind of removing some of the little excess pieces that kind of show through the front. And I think I'm satisfied with that, so I'm going to move on to the next steps, I believe. I'm very new at this. Hopefully I'll get better. Hopefully I'll get better as I move forward. I do not do any of the gluing down till the end, towards the end, just because I'm never really sure as far as how I'm gonna go. When I create, I kind of create by ear. I just kind of you know, pull out one thing or two things and then just let the inspiration kind of take over. If you guys have seen me, you know, do my live streams, then you more or less know how I operate. I never really kind of have a plan. I might have an idea, but I never really have a plan of execution. So this is pretty much how I create on a regular basis. So what you see me here doing here is I'm using another one, and this one has it embosses and it does not separate completely from the page, so you can kind of create a nice little edge, you know, a nice little detailed edge on the top, which is what you see. It's kind of like a doily kind of look, which I thought was, you know, kind of interesting, so I wanted to play with that today. And so I kind of had to pass it through again because it didn't separate all the way through and through all the little pieces that I needed to separate off of it. But this one right here is really, really good for like creating albums and using on albums and even on cards and stuff like that, like you see me doing here. It just creates a different look. And what you see me using to scrape off all the little things, which you'll probably see me do again and again, is just a plastic popsicle stick that you use for like the rub-ons. And it's really, really good for removing a lot of the little fine pieces, especially when they're stuck. It works a lot better than the wooden one, I've noticed, so that's why I kind of keep it, you know, hanging around. And here I wasn't sure where I was going to go with this yet, so I just started adding shading in just all the different places that I thought that I might want to add shading. Unfortunately, it wasn't too clear, but what I'm using there is the walnut stain. And again, applying it with the brush, just because it's a lot easier. And I did decide to use all the pieces, you know, the top part and, you know, as well as the regular base for the card. And the glue that I use is the Dollar Tree embellishment glue. For those of you that are coming to my channel new, and you're wondering what's in that white bottle, it's a glue that I purchased at the Dollar Tree, and I absolutely love that glue. It's pretty much for embellishments. But it actually sticks pretty much anything and everything. And I'm using it in a fine tip applicator, which I received from Deco Art, and it is absolutely fabulous. It allows the glue to kind of pour out, you know, in not such a high amount and such a high volume. So it allows me to use a little bit of glue, which extends the life of my glue, and at the same time still have the same potency. So what I'm doing now is I have used some flower shapes, and I just pretty much used some of the scraps that I had left over, just to add a little bit of dimension against the front of the card. So you're going to see me pretty much, you know, dust all of these off and get some shading on all the edges. And also you're also going to see me just trim a little bit off each of the center of the petals, just so that they have a little bit more movement, a little bit more flexibility, so that I'm able to layer them and curl them and do all of those things. This is a really nice set. The shape is a little bit awkward, but if you remove just that little tiny bit from in between each petal, you actually can make a really nice flower, which you guys will see me do here. And it's a set of 4. It comes with the big, this medium, and the small, and then it has a little centerpiece, but I did not use the centerpiece. Right now I'm just trying to kind of break down some of the fibers in the paper, just to make the paper a little bit more pliable, a little bit more comfortable. This is pretty much when I noticed that I needed to go ahead and just trim that little bit from in between each petal, just because I was not getting the movement. I wasn't creating the shape of the flower that I wanted, or that I was hoping for. So I went ahead and just kind of trimmed a little bit between each petal, and you guys will see me do that in a few minutes or a few seconds, because I have this on super fast. So yes. So here I'm just kind of gathering them all together. And I created more than I needed, because you never know if you end up messing one up. So I kind of created more than I needed, and you're just pretty much seeing me right now just kind of just clip a little bit from in between each of the sets of petals, just so that again I can have more movement. And I'm going to do this to all the sizes, all the way to the smallest. And you'll see there's a huge difference just with that little teeny bit. There's a huge difference in the shape, in the overall shape, in the overall dimension of your flowers once you create them. It'll just be a lot better. I don't have one of those, you know, flower foam mats, so I was attempting to use the Cuttlebug mat, but it was just too hard. So I just resorted to, you know, what's free, which is my hands. And I pretty much just went ahead and just shaped them right in the palm of my hand, which is very, you know, it's really easy. And since you can cup your hand, then you can kind of, you know, adjust how deep the center of your flowers go. And what I'm using here is We Are Memory Keepers, you know, the little scoring tool that comes with that. And that's what I'm pretty much using to kind of, you know, just add a little bit of a depression in the center of each card, so that it kind of pops out and it gives it more dimension. And here I'm just going to layer them all together. And I use the paintbrush just so that I make sure that it sticks nicely in the center and they're not falling apart. And at the same time also to give it more depth right in that center. And I actually messed up right there and I put the wrong one. I actually ended up not using that right one. It just didn't, I felt like it was clashing too much. It was too much of the same. So I ended up not using that red one. My intention was actually to use it as the center, as the focal point between the other cards, the other flowers, but that did not work the way that I wanted it to work. So that's what you guys kind of see me do, going through there. And I'm using a hole, those things that make the holes, to just add a little center dot in between each flower. And I'm just using, little scraps that I have here and there to just add little details here and there, just to kind of break apart the pattern a little bit. I could have used the one that came with it because it did come with a circle, but it was just too much to do that 4 times. The other one, the handheld one, worked a lot better. So here you just see me kind of play around with the arrangements. I'm just trying to see exactly where I want everything to go. And if you can see that the center flower kind of gets lost in there just because the rest of the pattern is just the same. So I ended up just deciding to not go with that. So you'll just see me kind of play with that a little bit and kind of end up coming to a conclusion. And here's where I have my eureka moment. Like, yeah, I think that's what's gonna work for me. So again, just centering it and kind of working off of that. I'm trying to offset it just a little bit so that it kind of has a somewhat of a curved look to it, which you can kind of tell, but you can't really tell too much. I wanted to show a little bit of that background that I had created. So let me see what I'm doing here. I'm actually dictating this whole thing as I'm watching it. Okay, so I'm using these leaves are, this was a one single piece that I purchased off of AliExpress, and I just love it. I ended up deciding to kind of separate them all, but before I did that, I did go ahead and add just a little bit of shading. And as you can see, that the brush, the makeup applicator, the makeup brush is just really, really handy for just creating layers of color, as well as getting into small little areas. If I would have used my handheld tool, just because of how large it is, it pretty much would have covered up my whole leaf, and that's not what I was going for. I just wanted a little bit of interest, at the base of each of the leaves. And it just allows me a little bit more control. And again, you're just gonna see me pretty much going through all of the different areas. So just to kind of catch you guys up in the meanwhile, while this is all happening in the background, I'm kind of rearranging how things are being done on my channel. I don't know if you guys probably noticed. I'm trying to have more videos, create more content, have more videos being uploaded and stuff. I'm not going to be doing as many lives as I was doing before. I'm still going to continue to do my Saturdays in the evening. As far as the Mondays and Thursdays, I am going to try to not so much do lives during the morning, but I am going to at least try to do like a voiceover video, during the time that I would have normally been doing my lives, and do some kind of an instructional video. So I'm definitely open to hearing any ideas from you guys. Definitely feel free to offer me suggestions as far as what you would like to see me do. For those of you that are new to my channel, I do all different kinds of things, from mixed media to art journaling to altered art. As you see, I'm doing cards. I do a little bit of everything. I'm not an expert on anything. I just like to play with all different kinds of things. And you'll see that in my channel, there's just all different kinds of things, even from drawing to just all different kinds of things. So if you guys have any ideas or you want to see me try anything or do a tutorial on anything, then just please let me know. Otherwise, then you could always catch me live on my Saturdays. I usually go on at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I do altered projects there, so I'll upcycle a box, or I'll do all different kinds of altered projects there, mixed media style altered projects. Okay, here I'm just going to add a little bit of blingage to each center of the flower. I probably would have been better off with adding a flat back pearl in the center of each one as opposed to that black one. So I'm looking at it and I might just change that. So if you follow me on Instagram at Design Elemental, then you'll probably notice that those are different. So just in case you're not crazy, I actually changed them. And here I'm just adding a little bit more shading, a little bit more shadowing again. You know, just kind of trying to separate some of the elements. I went ahead and touched up her hat a little bit. It had like some feather things kind of coming out of it. And I went ahead and just kind of, you know, all around the image itself, just added a little bit of shading. Right now I'm just going into the center of each of the leaves, just to make sure that they kind of stand out a little bit. I did want to keep a lot of that beige tone there, but I didn't want it to be too, you know, just too plain. So I just wanted to add a little bit. And here I'm just kind of, again, just trying to separate the image from the background just by adding some shading. And again, I am using the walnut stain to do so, and my makeup applicator, makeup brush. Now I've decided that this card needs something else because I just have a big area there with nothing on it. So here you're going to see me kind of create where I'm going to put my sentiments at. And pretty much, again, since I kind of go, you know, I kind of do things by eye, I'm just kind of measuring up and just, I'm going to layer it and I'm going to trim it down to size so that it pretty much is the perfect size that I need for that space that I have there. I wanted to make sure that I did leave a little bit of an area around it so that there's just a little bit of dimension kind of showing through. And then you're going to also see me, you know, add another layer on top of that where I'm going to be doing some stamping. Lately I've been dedicating a lot of time to creating cards and just working on the craft of making cards, because I think it's one of the, I don't want to say the last thing, there's a lot of things that you can do, you know, artistically speaking, but it's really one of those things that I've never really dedicated too much time to because I was doing mixed media or other things, and I really do like, you know, just the creative process of creating a card, just all the things that go into it. At least how I create them. I know that there are many ways to create them. You know, you can come up with all different kinds of beautiful projects. I just like to put a lot of time, I'm gonna say, because it does take me a lot of time into creating the things that I create. You know, even if it's something as simple as a card, it will literally will take me quite some time to get it done. And those of you that have painstakingly watched me go through those through that process on my live streams when I was doing my cards on live stream, then you know more or less how it is. Because again, I don't have any plan of execution. And when I create something, I create one. I don't create many of the same. So, and I'm always doing something different. So, right here, I picked up my sentiments. I used one that said best wishes, and it had like a flower. I'm not sure what they're called, but it's those flowers that you kind of make wishes with. That you blow into the air. And I just thought it was kind of fitting, especially since I wanted it to be like kind of autumny, you know, kind of fallish themed. And I didn't emboss it or anything like that. I just kept it nice and plain because I already had so much stuff going on. What I did do is just grab a little bit of that vintage photo and just add a little bit of shading just around it, and went ahead and just shaded all the edges off of it. And pretty much kept it simple that way. I'm adding some dimensional foam tape here. And this pretty much to me made the card kind of complete. In the front, it allowed enough contrast and it broke a lot of the background as to where I felt comfortable with how the card itself was looking. And I'm gonna go ahead and just glue that down and make sure that it is nice and secure, and use some of the leaves that are already there just to kind of overlay over the top of them. So I want to kind of thank you all for watching and for being a part of my live, you know, my live streams, my channel, just my overall journey, my process. Thank you so much for all of the support. I really enjoy, you know, crafting for you guys. So I hope that you guys enjoy watching. And I think once I add this piece here, this card will be officially done. I'm gonna keep practicing on my voiceovers and hopefully I'll get it down to a science. But for the most part, I want to thank you all so much for just hanging out with me and taking the time out of your day to watch me create. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day. Bye.